Dr. Kren here with the Weather Service in Raleigh. Here for your, this will be our first briefing for potential Tropical Cyclone 9 as of 5:30 this evening. I would be remiss if I didn't also talk about what's going on right now. So I have a little bit to talk about kind of our heavy rainfall threat today through Saturday as well. And then we'll get into a larger section of the potential tropical system. All right, so we do have a continued flash flood threat for tonight and Saturday. On the left is the excessive rainfall outlook for today through early Saturday. And then we have the graphic on the right that is basically for Saturday into Saturday night. We do have areas of scattered showers and storms out there right now, which I'll talk about next. But primarily the heavier or the greater rainfall risk tonight is going to be across the Triad, the Western Piedmont. But the whole area is in a marginal risk, so we can't rule out that the whole area could see some isolated spots, could see some heavy downpours and potentially some minor flooding issues. Tomorrow there's a greater threat area-wide. Pretty much the whole area is in a slight risk for excessive rain, and there's going to be more favorable conditions tomorrow that could bring additional amounts of what we have on top of what we have tonight, additional amounts of 1 to 3 inches with some locally higher rainfall amounts as well. So here's our current radar. Basically, we have 2 areas that we're watching right now. We have some storms across the Western Piedmont, just maybe across eastern portions of the Triad. Those storms are kind of moving east-northeast towards like Burlington, Chatham County, maybe Western Orange later this evening. And then we have another area of storms across the southern coastal plain and extending into portions of South Carolina as well, and just inland of the coast. This area is probably getting some enhancement along a sea breeze. In these 2 areas, we should expect that storm activity should continue to increase into the late evening hours tonight. Some of the guidance we look at shows that that could linger overnight, especially across the Western Piedmont, where there's some better forcing to make that continue a little bit longer. Overall, a broad swath across most areas, anywhere from a 1/4 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch of rain are expected, but we do expect that there will be some isolated amounts ranging from 1.5 to 3 or more inches of rain possible, especially across the Western Piedmont. So that will be something we're watching tonight into tomorrow morning. All right, now we're going to shift gears into the potential tropical cyclone 9. It's currently over eastern Cuba, and I have the current satellite image here. And I have this laser pointer turned on here. So there's 2 areas of circulation, and just so I don't confuse anyone, we have 2 systems, and just so we know which one we're talking about. This one further east that has more of a well-defined eye, that is Humberto. That's not the one we're really concerned about. The other one that is more of a ill-defined circulation at the moment. It's currently over eastern Cuba, and you can kind of see where I'm highlighting right now. It is expected over the next 24, 48 hours, it will become a better organized system, and is forecast to become a tropical storm this weekend and bring tropical storm conditions across central and northwestern Bahamas, where there are currently tropical storm warnings and watches in effect. I see a question from Chris. Chris, if that's okay, I'll get to your questions at the end of the presentation. So that's the system we're watching, not the one further east, which is Humberto. but we're watching this more ill-defined one. Right now, it's potential tropical cyclone 9. If it continues to develop as expected, it would be called Imelda, which is the next letter in the alphabet. All right, so this is the latest National Hurricane Center track forecast. It was just issued as of 5 o'clock this evening. You can see over the weekend into early next week. Generally, what I want to point out here is that there's generally higher confidence in the next couple of days that the system will kind of move to the north, slightly to the northwest, to just north of the Bahamas by early to midday Monday. By that time, the Hurricane Center has it becoming a hurricane by the afternoon hours on Monday. And then really the forecast confidence really drops off, really decreases as you go beyond Monday afternoon, Monday evening, and going into Tuesday. There's a lot more spread in the forecast guidance, and so overall forecast confidence decreases dramatically after Monday night. So that's one caveat to talk about there. There is an increasing threat of heavy rainfall early next week from coastal Georgia through the Carolinas and into the southern mid-Atlantic states, and that could cause some flash urban and river flooding. And that's what we will be focusing on the next several days through the weekend and early next week. All right, so for those of you that may have got this briefing we sent out earlier in the day, this is kind of showing that, but for those that were not able to see it, that's just fine. We're going to go over it again. So essentially what I talked about in the previous slide, that there's a lot more forecast uncertainty beyond Monday afternoon, Monday evening, and that's where a lot of the model guidance starts to diverge, and there's not a lot of consistency. And so, but given that, there are potentially 3 potential scenarios that could happen with the system after Monday evening. And we kind of broke it out into 3 different scenarios on the graphic on the left. Essentially, the first scenario takes more of a northwest curve, and that goes into portions of South Carolina. Where it ends up going into South Carolina is still unknown. Could go into northern sections or southern sections. If that track were to end up verifying, it would bring periods of heavy rain across much of North Carolina early next week. We couldn't rule out as well isolated tornadoes, rough surf, dangerous rip currents along the coast. And this track could have a more substantial impact for the western half of the state as well. The second track for central North Carolina could be probably the worst case scenario for central North Carolina. But in terms of this scenario, a northward track directly towards maybe eastern to central portions of North Carolina, and that would bring periods of heavy rain as well across much of the state early next week. And also on top of that, it would bring strong, possibly damaging winds. On top of that, also isolated tornadoes. And then towards the coast, we would still have the rough surf, dangerous rip currents, ocean overwash, and wave run up along the coast. Track 3 is seemingly potentially less plausible with the latest guidance coming in, but still can't be ruled out. That would be a northward turn, then kind of stalling out before making an eastward curve and then staying out at sea. This case would bring limited impacts to much of North Carolina outside of the rough surf and dangerous rip currents that we would see toward the coast. All right, on top of the uncertainty that we talked about, we do still have that heavy rainfall threat as discussed a little bit earlier. So this is looking at the excessive rainfall threat for Monday and Tuesday. On the left graphic is for Monday, the right graphic is for Tuesday. And you can see that obviously the timing of the system is going to be pretty telling as to where the heavy rain onset will be. But right now it looks like The heavy rain threat will be highest closer to the coast, across the Sandhills, coastal plain, and southeastern sections of North Carolina Monday night. And then Tuesday, as that system potentially maybe gets closer to our area, based on the latest Hurricane Center forecast, that slight risk area would expand into pretty much of, if not all of central North Carolina. So that's essentially what we have there. So kind of break it all down for you because we don't have a lot of high confidence. So here's some takeaways, key messages. There's still considerable uncertainty in the overall track and intensity of this tropical system. As such, the impacts, including precipitation timing and amounts, the winds, will be dependent upon these potential storm tracks. And also the storm intensity will also be dependent upon the actual track. We expect the forecast confidence to increase as we get closer, especially the next 24, 48 hours. So as we want to hype or want to at least get across this, stay tuned, be prepared, and be ready to take any action or preparations if needed. Let's see. I'm gonna